Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to talk about these UV filters. Now I have two of them. One is the premium one from K&F Concept. One is a cheap one from Kenko or Pro Digital. I don't know what's really the brand. It's a Japanese brand. And I want to talk about why you might need them or why you don't actually need them. Does it actually impact your picture quality, which we are going to look at in depth in this video. And as for the measures, for this one, this is the cheaper one. I think this costs like $1 or something. This is the 46 mil. I hope you guys can see 46 mil, and I've attached it to this 7 Artisans lens. You can see the review up here. This is the 35mm f1.2 Mark II, and I've attached it here as you can see. Whoa, oh, the exposure, man, calm down. Right, so that is it. I put it here. You can see the review for this lens up here. And for the premium one, this costs 10 times the price of that one. They say that this is optical glass. I don't know if you can see, optical glass, slim frame, and multi-layer coating, and they classify this as a premium UV filter. I've attached it to my Tamron 18-200, which you can also see the review up here, the 18-200, and I've attached it here. Whoa, the exposure. This is the 62mm variant, and let me just take it off real quick. For this one, it actually has a slightly purple tint. I don't know if you can see. Yes, you can see it has a slightly purple tint when it is when you look at an angle. For the Kenko one, the cheaper one, it doesn't, and it to my understanding, it also doesn't say that it is a UV filter. It only says that it is a protector, which doesn't really state any kind of multi-layer coating or high transparency glass, high transparency glass. So as I have already said, I've attached it. Now why these UV filters exist in the first place? Well, back in the days of the film actually very sensitive to UV rays, and this will cause some weird artifacts in your photos, and that's why it is invented to like sort of like block some of the UV light, so your film camera won't really get distracted by it. Now, as we have moved to a digital camera like my A6400, which you can see the review up here again, it actually doesn't need that. But the controversy is that people say that you still need it as a protector, as a protection, because I actually have already bumped my lens a few times, and believe it or not, that is the one that actually saving my lens from buying another lens, because it actually protects it. This only costs like $10. It got scratches on it and barrettes and some minor like some grooves in there, and it has actually helped me a lot. Now, if you don't put anything on it, there's also an argument that you don't need it, and it adds like extra layer of glass in here. That will also cause like a micro scratches and micro bumps, which in over time will develop, and you just cannot avoid that. So as a protection, I believe you can say that this is a legit protection, but does it actually alter your image quality? Well, I've prepared these both lenses. We're going to take a look a very like controlled situation for both lenses, with and without the UV filter attached, with this very similar. I put it on a tripod, my camera, and so you can see really the difference between the two. Now I also want to say that I've set my camera to manual mode, also manual focus. For this autofocus lens, I put it on manual focus. I put it on a custom white balance. I believe it's 6000 Kelvin, so it doesn't move. Fixed shutter speed, fixed exposure. I'll show you in the Lightroom what are the actual settings are, but I just wanted to show you that it is in a controlled situation and I've locked every settings. It's not even auto white balance, it is a locked white balance in a certain Kelvin temperature. And for this manual lens, I also set it to 1.2, so the maximum aperture in this lens. So I believe there's enough talk, and let's just get into the Lightroom. Alright guys, as you can see here, this is with the 7 Artisans 35mm f1.2 lens, and here you can see that the left one is without the UV, the right one is with UV, with ISO 100, locked at f1.2 with a white balance of 6000. Everything is locked. Also the focus is locked and the white balance is locked. And as you can see here, with the UV filter, it almost creates some like a bluish tint. As for the right one, the without UV filter, it has like a slightly warmer tones. So let me just zoom in. On the corners there is slight more detail on the without UV filter, so there's like more exposure to the corners, and with UV there is like slightly lower exposure here. On the middle, the colors is a bit colder with the UV, and without UV is a bit warmer, and that is all I can notice here. So let's move on to another example. Alright, here, this is also pretty identical. This is also with the 7 Artisans lens. It's 1/80th of a second, and there is nothing much here actually. Over the corners, a little bit more detail, I guess. Not that much. It's almost nothing. Almost no difference in this particular use case. So yeah. Is there any slight color? I don't really see. Maybe this is because it's very congested with green. So let's take a look at another example. Oops. Here, so yep, nothing much. Again, the corners is almost slightly more exposed. There's slightly more exposure in there, but maybe that's just me. It's not really that noticeable. If they put it like this, I can't really see the difference between the two. Again, there's slight colder tones almost. So yeah, again, another example here. Alright guys, so this one is with the Sony 18-200, and as you can see here, there is little to no difference. Are there any difference in the lights? No, nothing, not that much. I see not much difference. Well, let's take another look. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This is at 200mm with the Tamron lens with the premium K&F concept filter. And as you can see, when we shoot highlights when there is flare, you can see that there is very clear flare over here on the left with the UV filter, and there is no flare basically on the right one. As for the exposure and colors, I don't see that much difference, but you can see this very annoying flaring, where in the right one without UV there is no flaring at all, or there's no this blue flaring from the UV filter. Moving on to another one, yes, you can see it very pronouncedly. This only happens with the K&F filter with the UV coating that I mentioned. It is slightly has a slightly violet bluish tint, and apparently when you're shooting in direct sunlight like this, there is flare with the UV filter. So that is the biggest difference so far we have seen. Over here again, another example. This is back to the 7 Artisans with the clear filter. There is no much difference aside from there's like slight more you can see at the middle here where there is like more light on the middle. It's almost like flaring on the middle, where this one it's more detail over at the middle. So that's slight difference here when you're shooting bright lights. And as for the CA and another issue, I don't see that very much, but at the middle here it's almost that there is more white, there's more like shade on the middle. As for the right one without UV filter, there's no weird like flaring over here. Moving on. Alright, again, this is with the 7 Artisans. Here, not that much difference. Again, there's only slightly flaring. Maybe if you can see right here, let me zoom it a bit. Again, there's like that rays from the sun a bit from here, but it's nothing that dramatic. Again, there's not much difference with the clear filter, but with the UV filter from K&F Concept, which is the premium one with the slightly blue tint, you can see very clear blue flaring. And I guess you got the point. Over here, whoops, I compared wrong one. Alright, so I want to test whether it's actually flaring the issue for shooting this with UV filters. And as you can see, I use my phone. This is with the 7 Artisans lens. Again, wide open at f1.2, focus at the infinity mark. And as you can see now, it's very pronounced. There is this huge green flare if you put the filter on, the UV filter on, where it is non-existent on the right one. And I have tried to keep my hand as stable as I can. As you can see, it is very identical. You can see like the yellow flower here, it's very identical to the left one. I make sure to not move a single bit of my hand and the tripod, and it is very recreatable. You can try this yourself, that there is a huge flare issue if you're shooting with the UV filter. And yep, that's it for this one. It's very pronounced here. And yeah, there you go. Alright guys, so as you can see from the picture samples, that there is some difference with and without using these UV filters. For this cheap one, we can see there is slight color alternation, it almost makes it a bit colder without this UV filter. So it changes the color a bit. As of flaring for this one, it isn't really that much. There is some flaring, and yes, there is, but it's more pronounced on this one. Maybe because this one is clear and this one has a slight UV blocking layer on it, has that purple hue. And as of this one, you can see there's not much color alternation, but there is a lot of flare with this one. And so you can also see that as I turn the filter, it actually changes how the light enters in the lens, and that is very interesting because I've never seen anything like that. I think it's just a regular filter, and it's almost like when you install a VND where you turn it and it actually changes the ND value. This one, it doesn't change the value, but you can see the rays of light is physically turning as I turn the filter, and that's a bit interesting. So as for the verdict as whether you should use or not, I guess if you want to use one as a protection for your lens, then avoid highlights so you can avoid the flaring altogether. There's no color, or there's only a very slight color alteration with this one. You can always correct it in post for the color, and the only problem is the flaring, so don't shoot highlights. It will cause some flaring. Otherwise, just take off your lens, put on your hood, and you'll be good with flaring. As for this cheap one, it is not marketed as UV protector. It's only like a clear filter, and you can use this one also if you're on a budget. And it has flaring issues too. It has color alteration issues. So if you want to really use one, best bet is use a premium one. This is not sponsored by any of these guys. This is just what I have available as a premium. They branded this as a premium lens filter. So all right, that's it, I guess. I'll leave the choice up to you guys whether you want to use one. If you don't use one, there might be some scratches, like micro scratches on your lens. Whether that's an issue to you, whether you will be buying another lens for in the future and you'll be replacing your old lens, then I guess there's no much that arguing here. And by the way, speaking of new lenses, I am planning to review another manual lens, which probably you can see up here right now for the card. Just click it. So it'll be a surprise. If you haven't seen that, that means I haven't uploaded, but I'll make sure to upload it. And as for this one, if you want to use it as a protection and you're not really sure about yourself bumping into things, if you have a hood, that's really helping because I have damaged my hood bumping into things. But if you really care about the color, about the flaring, about the performance of your lens, then I suggest you just take it off, because yeah, your lens actually isn't designed to be put a filter on it. It's best, it is at its best performance if you don't actually put anything physically in front of it. So that's it, guys. If you really want to use it, use a premium one. If you don't have a budget for a premium one, or if you want to buy the cheap one, then if you really in those situations like shooting landscapes where you need to have the best possible image, then just take it off. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching this video and staying until this part of the video. Like if you like this one, subscribe if you haven't, and keep posted for new videos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.